we're used to seeing. So go ahead, Dr. Su.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? If not, let me know, also notes, let me know you can.
Summary for this one?
Some audio video issues or not. It's kind of interesting to deliver a presentation remotely like this. It's something new, we have adapted to the COVID situation. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Stephen with West Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. So today, I'm going to share something about bats, rabies, and then beyond. I like the word beyond. If I talk about bats, you would think, well, nothing new. What are you going to talk about? Rabies? Oh, we know rabies. We're all certified, right? What about the beyond? What are you going to talk about? So as a certified technician, the book chapter.
Bacon, egg, biscuit. I can't eat it. I already ate one.
So can you you mute somebody? A lot of a background. So as a certified technician, you went through the book of bats and public health. So I want to go a little bit further. Today, I'm planning for 15 minutes. Leave 5-10 minutes for Q&A. So see. First of all, for this topic, I'm not, so familiar with, honestly. By end of the talk, you may say, well, you don't know what you talk about. So this is not normal talk I do, but I will try my best. I want to acknowledge the support from our lab staff. They allow me the time, spare me for this preparation, and this talk, and also our director here, Michelle Brown, for her encouragement and inspiration, for something I'm not so familiar with, but I hope by the end, you're happy for all this information. So all the online resources, I acknowledge to cite pictures or statement or literature. That's a lot out there. So we're gonna go through like an overview about the bats, very general, and you probably know most of that, and you probably know more than I do. Benefits of the bats and bats virm, all the viruses group in bats, bats and the rabies, of course, and bats and the coronavirus. That's something not new. Coronavirus is not anything new, but it's something new today for us. Bats guano and the histoplasmosis concern and ectoparasite on bats. And finally, bats management, not a whole lot new, but let's go through that for the completion of this talk. That will have a brief summary. Let's go through that real quick. So if you, go bats conservation, so people talk about their own language. Okay, bats are good. Don't hurt my bats. Okay, they talk about the 53 billion non-toxic pest control. Wow. And you go another book, bats and the human health. Gee, it's bad. So bats, bats fly, but bats are not bird, right? We all know that they're mammals in the order of Chiroptera, right? Means hand wing. So there are two major groups, mega and micro. So believe it or not, greater than 1,400 species worldwide. Actually, in terms of number of species, account for 25% of mammals on Earth. Many are endangered. In the United States, we have 42 species on record and 23 in California. The size vary a lot. As small as your thumb, as big their wingspan, like meter, couple meters even. So like a fruit bats, it can be huge. Their feeding habits, they feed on insects or feed, fruits, pollens, nectar. It's very general. So roosting, right? So when they're not doing anything, they will find out a place, day and night, roost or hibernation, or summer, or nursery or feeding or resting for different purposes. It can be just one, it looks like a sleeping. It can be like millions in the caves. So one thing is really unique is that navigation is by echolocation. Echolocation is a very specific biological function. They can find out their food. There's something gonna bump them in the front, and they can use that mechanism. For Cont'd is very, very interesting. They only gave one baby a year. The weird thing is that the baby can be 1/3 of the body weight of mom. That means, like us human, a 45-pound baby. Just think about it that way. And the longevity, boy, maybe longer than we thought. 30 years. Maybe because they're having hibernation. They minimize their activity. They can consume less energy and live longer. They migrate. If the temperature is not right, too cold, or food becomes short, they're gonna change their location. The worldwide distribution and all elevations from up to 15,000 feet elevation, you can see them. Anyway, so in terms of distribution and number of species, everything is very, very impressive mammal. So let's talk about the benefit. In terms of biology or biological aspect. So how they fly, the bats, they can make a 180 degrees turn within 3 wing beats. How's that? With the speed they're flying, it's very, very difficult to turn. And people study, their aerodynamics, can be applied for other mechanical engineering aspects. Of course, the echolocation, they can target, not by vision, they can target insects or something else pretty accurate. So in terms of ecology, it's an indicator of biodiversity. They can disperse the plant seeds, and they can reforest as the reforest by the seeds of all kinds of plants. In terms of economic, they're predators of many insects, and actually they're pollinator. A lot of plants almost solely dependent on bats for pollination because they're being nocturnal, nighttime flying. They only bloom, during nighttime. Others, of course, guano is such a specific word for basically for the feces of bats as a fertilizer. Actually, I found in Romania, some of the area, the guano pile can be like over 1,000 years. So that's like a living fossil, like a record of climate change. Even they study the element in the guano, to reflect the historical change of the climate. Very interesting. So let's move to the bats virus. So virus starts from like a group of viruses referred to. If you check the Baltimore classification of viruses, there are 7 groups, depending on how the mRNA, messenger RNA was made. So I don't think I need to go through that 1 through 7, in terms of DNA or RNA, first of all, then the double strand or single strand, then is a positive sense or negative sense of single strand, and some other features. So there are viruses we know, there are 7 groups right here. Let's start from the 7 group then to see where the bats viruses. So the bats, unfortunately, got all. That's my key message. For all 7 groups of viruses, bats have all. The type 4 is Coronaviridae. This family have a greatest share of bats-associated viruses with human as a 2020 data. So zoonotic, like a rabies virus, SARS-CoV, SARS coronavirus or SARS coronavirus 1, MERS-CoV or coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2. We'll go detail why they're putting in the red font here. Others like Marburg virus, Nipah virus, and Hendra virus. At this top of the rabies, this one I think we probably most familiar with over many years of continuing education and certification. So rabies last virus is attack the central nervous system. In human infection, always fatal. If you leave it alone. Even the treatment can be very time sensitive. The vaccine, there are a lot of things we're not going to talk about in terms of the public health angle, but it is very, very high risk of fatality. So it's a non-segmented negative sense RNA virus. So only a small portion of the bats population can be infected. They're susceptible. So the bats, once they're infected, they're not you know, like we normally think in Canada, in dogs, for example, they're aggressive, and not at all. You know, they may like you know, hibernation or fall asleep or something. However, no record of transmissions through like air or feces or urine of bats, which is good. So almost always through you know direct contact. Rabies bats further can be found in anywhere in California. And if you see a bastion fall in the ground, normally in the location you don't see, and they're dead or dying, you know, just to watch out. It may be a reason, particularly in Southern California and the Inland Empire. We'll talk a little more later. And then you're gonna file a report and you know how to do a removal safely and how to submit for testing. So when we take a you know overall look worldwide, this map will give you the involvement of wildlife in rabies transmission here, and you see all the little pictures there, you know, like a fox or dog or bass. I just want to highlight bass. So every continent, the bass play an important role as the reservoir host of rabies. So in the United States, bats, skunk, raccoon, fox, or mongoose, you know, those wildlife, this area is about bats. You can see the territory, you know, mainly bats as a reservoir host. I think what third, you know, more than third even. So it's important. And look at the by time since 1967 to 2017. This chart gives you the most common wildlife species, you know, their number of infections here. I mean, bats is not on the top. It's right here, the blue line.
Dr. Sue,
So, yep.
can we hold just one sec? Can everyone please check their microphones and make sure that they're muted up? We're getting a lot of background noise and it's a little difficult to hear. So please everyone check on your settings. Unfortunately, I can't do it. It looks like through here, maybe because I'm not the host anymore. So if everyone could do that, just check on your mics, and then you know we'll have a question and answer afterwards. I think you can hit the space bar to temporarily unmute yourself and ask a question. We can just run through that real quick. Sorry about that, Dr. Sue. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, appreciate everybody's effort. Yeah, so also it's good for me. I don't have to worry about the background, so easier. As you can see here, you know, raccoon is actually on the top nationwide. If you just focus on the bats, you know, compared to 2018 and 2017, the number is a little scary. 27,000 bats tested and 1635, almost 60% positive.
Okay.
That's pretty high, you know, which is 14% increase reported compared with 17. So that means bats is a significant source of rabies here. In California, let's look at the data of 2010 and 2019. The blue column, the data for bats, compared with skunk, which is a bit much lower, actually much lower skunk, and cats and dog. So they're equal or even more important than dog and cats. So it's one of the significant again. So that's, this give you a picture. I just want to remind you that they don't have to be like we normally think they're aggressive or try to attack something. Can be either way. Just don't be confused by the behavior of a rabid bat. Again, in California, the number of rabid animals from 2009 to 2019, and with 10 years average. The blue is bats. So you look at the in still California, different from the nation. So California, we have more concern about bats here than other animals. So this is by time in our state, as you can see, and there's some ups and downs, but it's a very obvious curve in later season, August, September, October. That's the time of the peak of number of rabid bats. So let's look at the location. These for the map for different kind of animals, cats, which is yellow, and fox is purplish, skunk, or purple, no, sorry. The fox is red and purplish is skunk, and blue rabbit is the bats. So mainly you get two metro area in San Francisco, the Bay Area, and also Los Angeles area. If you just look at the bats, so it's more obvious that way. I mean, some in the Central Valley area, but mainly to metropolitan area. And Southern California, kind of interesting. You know, this picture I cut from Fontana Police Department. You know, they got just more than normal, I would say, number of bats test positive. They even, you know, put out a press release or something to alert people. As you can see here, Los Angeles County, Orange County, San Bernardino County, particularly West Valley area. Unfortunately, you know, here, Fontana, Rancho Cucamonga, Ontario, we seem to get quite often, you know, rabbit bats. So that's, you know, I think again, bats and rabies, I think we know more than anything else about it. It's just a refresh your memory for that. And I want to switch the gear from here to coronavirus. This may be the area, you know, for our vector guys, we don't deal with this because this virus is not vector-borne. But if you typical vector-borne, but if you look at from the bats and public health, well, it's related, right? So let's talk about the general information about coronavirus. So if you still remember the Baltimore classification, these belong to type 4. They're all positive single-strand RNA virus in the family of Coronaviridae. They're between a subfamily of Orthocoronavirinae, and there are 4 general. About 45 species of coronavirus has been identified in total as of 2020. So the 4 general is very easy to memorize. They call the alpha, beta, gamma, and delta coronavirus. They all have a very similar morphological feature, as you can see from the picture. I'm sure you see the picture many times recently. So, and let's look at their host. Okay, these are the ones that are closely related to today's talk. Coronavirus is a different, you know, numbers of letters coded here. I highlight the bats involvement, you know, in red, and also you see the human. They all in the human group, and then more than half also in bats. The bottom 3 here for the red circle is the SARS-CoV-1 and MERS-CoV and SARS-CoV-2, human and bats, other wildlife. We're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. So let's talk about SARS-CoV-1 or SARS-CoV. What SARS stands for, right? We know that severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 1 or no 1. Before step 2, we don't add 1. Now we call 1. So let's talk about this pathogen here. From the scanning microscope, you can see the, you know, their typical coronavirus looking. And I take a little screenshot from the wiki. You can see the classification of this virus on the far right side. So this virus is found in cives, in raccoon dogs, you know, ferret badgers, and domestic cats. I put these Chinese horseshoe bats. These are data, you know, relatively new back to SARS time. This the bats will look like. Look at somebody doing some study, you know, there's a sensor on the bats. On the right side, the picture, you know, on the tree branch, that's the cives. I think that's the animal is believed, you know, caused the, you know, consume this animal. I mean, we don't do it here, but people just eat it elsewhere. I believe is how they get it. So this is the disease. Is a zoonotic origin. However, so far, you know, there are no direct progenitor. So it means there are no direct evidence. I see, okay, this virus is from bats to human. So, you know, however, some of the, you know, isolated from bats, let's see, 2013, 17, 16, in Yunnan, where's Yunnan? Yunnan is the very southwest corner border with Myanmar, China. So they have a 96% of genetic similarity. So, which indicates it is connection of bats or with this virus. How from the bats to human, directly, indirectly, as you can see from this drawing on the right side, is there a lot of hypotheses. There are some dot lines there is not 100% for sure, but it definitely related. So that's the bats. So SARS, that's a disease, right? We don't talk about SARS anymore because it was something over. First reported in 2003, then spread to Americas, Europe and Asia, and 2004, 2002 to 2004 was the global outbreak. About 8,500 cases with 11% fatality. It's believed that it's been eradicated as of 2020, but because the reservoir host may be more than we think in nature, is there any risk of re-emergence or resurgence? We don't know. I would just watch out. So as you can see from the far right lower corner, go by the map, China was the focus for this, or epicenter of this SARS, as was really a big deal back to then. So later on, you can remember, don't know how you, this one is the last wave compared with SARS, which is the MERS, Middle East, the respiratory syndrome, coronavirus. So first reported in 2012, it's almost 10 years later after SARS. In fact, humans, bats, and camel, interesting. Zoonotic origin, may have circulated in bats as a reservoir host before transmitting to human. As you can see from the right panel, is very much related to the SARS virus, the coronavirus. Just belong to the same family, maybe different general. So MERS is the symptoms is very similar to SARS. With the first case confirmed in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia in April 2012. This is data from European CDC. And then spread to 27 countries in Europe, North America, Asia, of course, Middle East. As of November 2019, there are about 2,500 cases reported with 858 deaths, greater than 30% fatality. As you remember, the SARS is about 11%, right? So the MERS is even more severe. Is that still ongoing or not? We don't know. With all the coronavirus, SARS, MERS, COVID-19, we'll talk about a little more. It's all kind of overlapping. It's very confusing now. If you go to Wikipedia, if you go to COVID-19 or SARS, MERS, those websites, you see like 1,000 references listed. It take you probably a whole week to read if you're interested. So SARS-CoV-2, that's something we've been dealing with since January last year. As you can, everybody, we here in West Valley, we still wear masks. Everybody like dress up like a ninja, for protection with social distancing, for all safety. We're all so familiar with. So this virus is closely related to bats coronavirus. I use the word closely related. I didn't say is from bats. It is a bats coronavirus. And it also related to pangolin coronavirus, and also related to the SARS-CoV back to, around 2004, 2003, those years. And also related to MERS. So this area is very, very confusing. If you check the literature, it seems all interweaving, crossing point. But the bottom line is bats is right on the spotlight of all these things going on here. So how this virus from bats to human directly or indirectly is still, if you check the scientific publication or you check the media, boy, that's very, very confusing, and there's so much information to go through. And at the end, you still feel not clear. But I think that's the way it is. More study is on the way. So disease, I think I just go through something we're also familiar with. Been dealing with this for quite some month so far. Every week is a challenge, numbers. So that's the general transmission cycle we kind of believe this might be, from the coronavirus in bats, and then other wildlife, or either people consume that as a food. I've confused. Eat food? Eat bats? Don't who do that? Then to human, and among human, of course, we know. Okay, at the beginning, people saying, "Oh, there are no risk of human to human." Even WHO, cite a statement from the early days from China. Then, of course, later on, say, "Whoa, do you have human to human?" Of course, yes, today, Jesus. So, eat bats? Wow, that's real. I don't know you guys ever taste this, but I can't imagine. These are what? Barbecue bats or teriyaki flavor or what? I don't know. So it looks like. Geez, check this out, man. Geez, you order something bats soup and the bats sit on the spoon and smile to you. Can you eat this? Or look at what a picture of a Beauty and Beast, right? Geez, who is eating who here? I can't imagine that. It's very, very culture related or what? But anyway, I just got this picture. If you search Google bats as food on Google, there's a mile long list of hundreds of pictures of how to cook them, how to eat them. So that's why they believe there might be a piece of connection right here from bats to other animals or from bats to human. But you could argue with me, well, you cook that, right? You stew that for a thing, or you barbecue that, or what? The virus should be killed, right? But what about the handling? What about the undercook? What about the utensils, right? Like here on the picture, the chopsticks in place. So there's so many things to imagine. Right? Okay, the cases, boy. This is the cases, I think the newest data I can get, confirmed cases per country as of March 14th. So the dark area you can see in the Americas would be United States, Brazil, and followed by other countries. In Asia, you can tell by India. Even though it's originated from China, but China is just a regular red as other red. But the reporting system, how reliable data, we don't know. Can be darker than red, but that's the pretty much current worldwide map like that. Let's focus on United States, which is the dark black dot line, unfortunately, on the top during the past year or so. It's unfortunately, it's quite impressive curve here. We all still on the way. We're experienced that. We even a couple of folks or colleagues lost their life. Unfortunately, very heartbroken. Fatality, remember SARS and MERS, 11% or 30% something. This is the number of fatality per million. And there are two countries that really jump out here. United States, 1642. And I believe because the European countries are small, so crowded here, I believe that's Italy, 1648 per million people. So very unfortunate that claimed so many lives during the past just a year. Okay, with that, we go through the SARS, MERS, and COVID. Again, this coronavirus is something new, even not in the vertebrate and public health book. But I, add this part. And the bring home message today is we don't want to say, oh, yeah, coronavirus from bats, cause or COVID cause, SARS or MERS. There still need more information to justify the equation mark in between. But closely related is a safe way to say it. I think when time goes, these things will gradually figure out, what's the connection. It can be very complicated. So back to one of the older topic here. In our public health book, actually, which is the Histoplasmosis. It's a fungus, okay, cause the pneumonia type of signs and symptoms. It's like a flu-like of disease, caused your respiratory system. The symptoms can be like a very mild, or even don't know it, or severe, or even fatal. So if you breathe in the dust in the area, or the bats, or it could be a bird, particularly the guano. You stir up the guano, it can become spores become airborne. Then if you don't have enough ventilation, it's very high risk. As you can see here, the picture, the bluish is showing the pathogen, their spores and other stages, and also the pinkish on the right side is the lung tissue after infection. The distribution is interesting. You see, east part of America and Canada and South America and Africa and the southwest neighboring country in China and southeast China. And a very, very like a straight line, a very narrow band on east coast of Australia. Yep, that's the distribution. So in our country here, it's mainly in the Ohio and the Mississippi River Valley in the east part. In terms of 100,000 people case from 2011 to 2014, as you can see the far right bluish map. And also during 1938 and 2013, over this many years, the outbreaks represented by the dot in the middle part of the chart here is also in the same area. Why that way? It seems like in those areas, they're more suitable for this fungus, the environment. Interesting. So I never done any study about that. I just wondering, why that area is more suitable. In California, all the way back to 1949, it's very rare disease in California. That's the earliest report I can find out. And later on in '66, this is all very old literature. 3 cases San Diego, and later on was 2004, a little bit, 16 years ago, and in 2 cats. That's interesting. We think of this thing is just in human, from soil or guano become airborne to human, then looks like the host is specific, not that high can attack animal. 2019, there are more report, but overall, in California seems not a high incidence at all. So that's it. I don't think we need to spend too much time on the histoplasmosis, but just to bring home message is the guano, the fungus, in the guano, then become airborne. Then you have under poor ventilation environment, a cave, for example. You're curious about the cave, you get in there. There are 3 million bathrooms in there. That's a 1,000 years old pile of guano. Whoops. And then you're curious about, you drop something, move around crazy. That's the risk right there. Yeah. So we're going to switch gear to ectoparasite on bat. I thought, bed bug or something like that on bats. That's all I know. I dug into it. Boy, it's more than I think. The important message is all the ectoparasites on bats, they are the pet. They're the pet of bats. Their own pet. I have called a highly host specific. It's rarely shared with other animals. Let's take a look. Bat bug, not bed bug. Okay, it's bat bugs, not bed bug. But it looks so similar, right? Actually, there are 3 species here that belong to the same genus, the same mix, and one and the far left in a different genus look a little different. Other than that, that's bats, bugs. They're exclusively parasitic every stage, as we understand from our bed bug. A second big group is fleas. Look at these fleas. They belong to the single almost a single genus here. And they look a little different, morphologically. I found another species, from New Zealand. It says it's a threatened species. It's interesting, in terms of biology or ecology or fauna evolution. Any species have a special status. I think they're passed away, they deserve to be killed or deserve to disappear or what, but in terms of biodiversity, they have a different statement about that. Ticks. So seems another common group of Lycocoris tydii or soft tick. And actually, there are multi-pathogens detected, Rickettsia, Borrelia, and Bartonella. They're detected in this tick. There are quite a bit information published. They have other ticks. This picture, kind of interesting looking, black bar tick, which is also soft tick, and they have the shift tick, and they have a long leg bat tick, which is the hard tick, a little different from our exodosis we're dealing with, like Pacifics. Mites, even more species. They're in the single genus of Spinotornix. They're small, they're very similar to other mites, but can be many species. And some other not so common species. And one thing I want to really emphasize maybe the chiggers. So chiggers have a much broader host range, even including mites, bats, sorry. Flies, this is a more weird group. So fly, when I say fly, what do you think? You think about, domestic fly or other flies, stable fly or face fly. This is totally different. You think I probably grabbed the wrong picture, right? It looks like a spider. Are you sure the flies? I'm sure they're flies. Okay, these flies are very nasty. Bats. That's bat flies. Only on bats. And two families here, over 200 species on them. Both males and females take blood and tissue fluid. It's very, very annoying and detrimental to bats, unfortunately. So pest management, I think this information I just refreshed and not a whole lot really we can do. My curiosity, I visited some bats conservation website. Boy, the whole message is that bats are good, don't touch. These are bats. I don't ever use word of control or eradication or whatever kind of word. So we try to protect each and every species. So let's take a look from the conservation side. 200 bat species in 60 countries is threatened. Wow. In the United States, there are 6 species federally listed as endangered. You better watch out. And California, 8 species or 3 subspecies. Special concern. Yeah. So it's just a different language from we vector control people. So pest removal, you leave them alone. The bats, they're doing their own business. They don't like to be, bothered or touched but under certain circumstances, you have to remove them. Unfortunately, you have to do what you have to do. If roosting in the daytime or winter, it looks like half dead, but they're doing their business. That's their cycle. So just understand there as a mammal. We don't do that human, right? Exclusion is more important is timing. You don't want to have the time they have a lot of babies inside, then you put something, whoops, right? You're gonna decimate their young, so that's not good. There are many ways of certain mesh size of net, keep them away. I was searching the website. I saw something really interesting from Caltrans, which is on the right lower corner. I take a screenshot. If you're interested, you can go to the website to search that. They install kind of interesting device, like a funnel at the bottom there, actually for minimize the problem of bats and the bird. They roost underneath the bridge on the Caltrans system. So if you go, consumer product, ultrasound, you get this, you don't hear that, but bats hear that. What about mothball? And I think of the mothball is you smell it. I don't know the bats will smell it, or they smell it, they leave or not. They not come back. seems no data support this, either one, these two work. It's like a waste of money. Report, okay, if you see a bat dead or dying or flip around, in the locations you normally don't see, that's something. You gotta be alert, Public health lab in the county, I think they run the test for weevil control, we don't do that. Let's see if you found that one, dying one, right? First of all, if you think, boy, what species I can estimate if the federal, state, special concern or protected, endangered or something. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, good to know. And second is there's a disease actually associated with bats itself. This poor guy, looks like a makeup, right? I put too much makeup. So the whitish, it's a fungus infection actually, which is very bad for, it's covered in a mouth and nose like that. Fungus can grow. And it's called white nose syndrome. Something called syndrome is not so sure about what caused it. It did not need more information. Sometimes you see a little device on that, a little chip or attached to their back or their wing. That might be under monitoring. It means that more need to report to your wildlife or public health. So whoever, they're gonna circulate the information to see what we have to do. So more related to us is, what do you do with what you see this? Am I in the walkway, driveway, parkway? You need to report and you want to, okay, not the species of concern. How you depot, how you collect that, how you report. Look at this picture. And people have put this picture. It's kind of bothering me on internet. So I don't want to do that. So whether it's dead ones or dying ones or rabies or whatever the status, that's a risk right there. You're touching that. So there's a safe way, to grab it, this bag, reverse it, put another bag. General precaution, a lot of similarity as we handle dead bird here. So that I'm 8:44. Let's summarize the today. That's a good, right? We talk about biologically, ecologically and economic, but they're cool animals. So they do so many good things. Biodiversity, the predator of insects, or even talk about for the bat house from mosquito control, which we have a different opinion about that. If a bat can chase a moth, 100 times big, why bother the fast flying mosquitoes? That's not a good investment, right? So ecology, they spread the seeds, they reestablish the forests, pollinating crops, particularly like banana or avocado things. They have a significant economic importance. However, we go through multiple issues here, from rabies to SARS, MERS, COVID, and also the histoplasmosis and others. I believe that a lot of other viruses we even don't know. I attend a Colorado State University seminar before this talk. I want to prepare myself. There was other virus people talk about the virus associated with wildlife, including bats. Boy, at the end of the presentation, I said, geez, this is not something I can do. It's a very complicated world. If you say possum is a flea bag, you can call bats a virus bag, I guess. So the only thing, the best approach is living in harmony with bats. Yeah. So there are a lot of do's and don'ts. Understand, do what you do and do not do what you're not supposed to do. That's all about bats. So yeah, look at how cool guy is that. Hi, you have a question for me? Bats asking you. Maybe I can answer or Bats can answer. So that's my talk around exactly 45 minutes. Go through very basic biology all the way to living in harmony with the bats. I'm open for questions and discussions or suggestions. If anything I don't deliver well, and as a new topic, I'm more than happy, to learn more. All right, Brian, I'm going to stop right here.
All right, thank you, Stephen. I do have one question from Carol Ann. It came in through the chat. You guys are welcome to use the chat too if you want to write out any questions. She said, I get people asking me about the theory of a lab release of the novel coronavirus. Aren't strains fairly specific? And knowing that, why can't they eliminate or confirm a lab release of SARS-CoV-1?
Okay, yeah. First of all, I'm not the expert to answer this question. I'm not a virus guy, not a COVID or, that very hot research area. But I will try my best from the information I learned from, over years and also recently from the literature. Like I said, there are, from the media, a lot of hypotheses saying, oh, the lab release, wow, was the lab leak out, not intentionally, or even release intent. Wow, geez, it's scary, right? Or it's from the bats, you eat the bats. Or no, from the other animals you eat. So this is all hot discussion. There are a lot of issues with politics or blame, pointing finger from country to country, people to people. If you go to scientific publication, all the JAMA, Lancet, Science, there's a different, all the coronavirus, bats, also found in other animals, pangolin and others. Okay, there's a high similarity, or called homology of the sequence in the virus we isolate from human compared with what we isolate from pangolin and bats. Can we say this thing is from the bats or is from your lab? I don't know any lab strains they compare their sequence with the wild and with the human isolation. Okay, 96% identity or 99% identity. So on the safe side at this time, I think we do not draw a conclusion to say this lab released intentionally, this lab released accidentally. This virus is from bats. So just hold on to this and do more information. But one thing we can safely say, all the coronaviruses, SARS, MERS, COVID, they are closely related to bats coronavirus. I don't know why I answered the question, but yeah, we can have more discussion about it.
Thank you. I think it's might be they don't have the information they need to be able to do that. I hear there's some resistance from
right, and also
government.
That's such a critical conclusion. There are a lot of things behind that.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions coming through on the chat. Anyone else have any other questions? You can unmute and ask the question if you like. Okay, well, given that, I think we're all set. Thank you all very much for joining us, and thank you very much, Dr. Sue, for providing our update on bats and kind of a different look than we're typically used to. We greatly appreciate you taking the time today, and appreciate everyone who was able to visit today and take the time as well.
Welcome.
All right, I think we're going to sign off then. And again, thank you all very much for participating. And we will see you all. You guys be safe out there.